Welcome to me, where suspenseful, thrilling, and mysterious stories will draw you into a world where the lines between reality and fantasy seem to blur. When the night falls, when all the sounds gradually quiet down, leaving only your own heartbeat and breathing, that's when these stories begin. Tensions, unsolved mysteries, moments that will make you hold your breath in fear or curiosity, all are waiting for you ahead. Find a comfortable seat, dim the lights, and let this sound guide you on a journey that is not for the faint of heart. I want each of you to leave a comment sharing where you are in the world. And if you are enjoying the episodes, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to the channel now. Relax. Are you ready? If so, join me in the first story right now. The Painted Door. For what feels like an eternity, I stare at the bloodied body without being able to move. It's sprawled at my feet, limbs flung wide open, limp, each arm and leg pointing in a different direction on the filthy cobblestone ground of the tiny, walled, dark, and abandoned courtyard. Above us, the moonlight and the sparks of stars flicker behind white clouds that slice through a deep blue sky, like ghost ships crossing distant, uncharted seas. The layers of mythical creatures and fearsome leviathans. With my free hand, I grope blindly at my own stomach, applying pressure to the wounds, the deep cuts that tore through flesh and muscles during the fight. Warm, dark blood gushes between my fingers, trickling down my arm, soaking the inner sleeve of my shirt and jacket. A lantern shines through the fogged glass of a third-floor window in the adjacent building. I run and hide, crouching behind a bush. Clenching my teeth, I stifle a groan. "Who's there?" demands the gruff, weathered voice of an old man. Through the tangle of leaves, cloaked in shadows, I watch him. He wears a long, white cotton nightgown and a matching cap. One hand holds the open window, while the other grips the lit lantern. He squints and scans the courtyard, fixing his gaze on the body. Hey, you degenerate drunkard. Go die somewhere else, Satan. Shoo. He yells like this for a minute or two, then grunts, mutters a curse, shuts the window, and disappears along with the light inside the room. I lift my head and look around, peering through one of the gaps in the ancient stone wall into the street. Seeing no one, I seize the opportunity to leave the scene. I rise, pull myself over the wall, and slip into the narrow, winding cobblestone streets. I try to move quickly, but quietly. I fail at both. The wound slows me down, saps my strength, the precision of my movements, and wherever I pass, I catch the attention of horses tied to posts or hitched to carriages, and dogs guarding gardens and courtyards. The former neigh and snort, the latter bark, bare their teeth, and growl behind fences, stone walls, or the iron bars of gates. The streets are deserted, except for the animals, silent save for their sounds, the gusts of wind, the rustling of leaves, the creak of hinges on lonely shop, and tavern signs swaying in the dim light. Of the lanterns hanging from sparsely spaced posts along the paths, only a few remain lit. I regret coming on foot, but at the same time, I know I had no choice. I couldn't risk having the coachman as a witness, and driving my own carriage alone would have raised too many suspicions. A rider draws far more attention than a man on foot. A man can move unnoticed, can hide at the first sign of danger, can leap over walls and slip through courtyards unseen, can climb walls and travel across rooftops. After a while, I stop feeling my legs, stop perceiving their movement. Despite my thick, fine clothes, I feel a terrible cold creeping up my spine, stabbing beneath my ribs, filling my chest and guts with dread. I collapse on my knees beside a wall and sit with my back against it in a dark alley, sheltered by shadows, trash, and foul smells. Just a minute, I think. I only need a minute if I allow myself 1 or 100. I can't say. But I wake startled when the clamor of sirens and bells reaches my ears. I've been discovered. They're after me. I bury the fingers of my free hand in the crevices of the wall, between the stones, and pull myself back onto my feet. I resume dragging myself forward, attempting to run. I stagger in zigzags, stumble and nearly fall, collide with posts, carriages, empty stakes, and walls, yet press on, one street at a time and one turn at a time, choosing the most crooked and darkest paths, cutting through back alleys, narrow lanes, and forgotten open courtyards. The dreadful symphony of the pursuit never seems far, but also doesn't gain on me as much as I fear. It follows me closely, always keeping the same distance, as if it were holding back for now. It is a macabre, inhuman sound, seemingly coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. I am about to turn a corner when I see the light, unlike any other I have ever encountered. It is not yellow or orange like the light of fire or lanterns. It is white, pulsating, alive, like sunlight itself. I stop, leaning against the wall of a building, mesmerized. The light crawls over the cobblestones like a living thing, formless and boundless. As it approaches, the colors of the lanterns, the animals, the stones, the ground, the walls, everything it is about to touch, fade away. It is as if the light is absorbing these colors, transforming objects into pencil sketches on white paper, like the ones I make before transferring my drawings in color to the canvases that I exchange for prestige, privilege, and fortune. Then the light swallows them, sucks up the colorless drafts as well, consumes them as if it were an immense, infinite mouth. The mouth of God, reclaiming into cosmic oblivion the living and the dead of this world. Behind the blinding curtain, the world disappears, ceasing to exist in a way that defies both physics and human intellect. Slowly, the light moves forward, a white void, smooth and shapeless, transforming what once was into nothingness. It is at that moment that the bells and sirens grow louder and closer, unbearably near. I look around and then start running again. I cross the intersection, with the light devouring the finite world to my right, and follow the street perpendicular to its advance. In a desperate attempt to lose my pursuers, I turn corners at random, sometimes left, sometimes right, zigzagging northward. My twists and turns are not always aimless. At times, I am forced to turn here and there, or backtrack when the wall of light appears just a few steps ahead of me, burning my eyes and rushing to envelop me. I shield my face behind my free hand and dive into the first available path to the right or left, or pivot on my heels and retrace my steps to the previous crossroads. Thus, I conquer the paved streets and the dirt roads, crossing the mile-long stretch that separates the town from my private hill and the mansion crowning it. I pass through the garden gates and rush to the front door. The guards and other staff still awake at this hour are startled, surrounding me, offering to help me walk, to carry me to a bed, a chair. They inquire about my injury, whether they should send a rider to fetch the physician from the village. I command them all to step back, to leave me alone, ordering that every door and window be sealed. For a brief moment, I work alongside them in this endeavor, but then I turn and make my way down the corridors to the bedroom. I kneel by the side of the massive canopy bed and touch Maria's warm face as she sleeps in peace and oblivion, undisturbed by the banging of doors, the shouted exchange of orders, or the music threatening to unravel my perfect world. The clamor of that million-strong chorus of sirens and bells. Gently, I wake her and help her to her feet. Quickly, my love, come with me. You must come with me, I whisper urgently, pulling her by the hand. She follows, trembling, crying, asking about all that blood, about the injuries, and the blood, the blood, the blood. So it was all over, then. Had I won? Were we finally free to live our love, no longer bound by escapes, lies, persecutions, or consequences? I pull her by the hand through the corridors to my studio. Along the way, I grab one of the lanterns hanging from rings fixed to the stone walls. I enter, pull her inside, and lock the door behind us. Frantically, I fly from one side of the room to the other, ensuring all other entrances and windows are shut as well. I move unsteadily, stumbling, pushing aside finished paintings, knocking over empty easels, unfinished canvases, and tables cluttered with papers, palettes, jars of paint, and brushes. Once convinced that every possible entry is sealed, I return to Maria, grasping her hand again, and lead her toward one of the walls. I scour the floor for a brush and a jar of paint. When I open the first jar, I find inside a solid, useless, gray lump. I hurry around the room, gathering more jars, only to find them equally futile. I try using the paint from the palettes, attempting to make it at least pliable with saliva. But to no avail, I find myself clutching a dry, useless brush, turning helplessly in place, sobbing, groaning in pain. Then I remember the wound, the blood. I return to the wall, grip trembling, inconsolable and bewildered Maria's hand. Dip the brush into my own wound, pulling it out with bristles drenched in blood, dripping red. Together, we approach the wall, and I begin to work. The bells and sirens grow ever closer, unbearably close, now just outside the corridor, sounding in neighboring rooms. With desperate and vigorous strokes, I paint a door, a doorknob, our only escape route. In my mind, I paint on the other side the perfect world, the perfect life, the happy ending we deserve. I squeeze Maria's hand a little tighter. I let the brush slip from my sticky, blood-soaked fingers, falling with a muffled thud beneath the cacophony of sirens and bells. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. With my free hand, I reach toward the doorknob and grasp nothing. No, 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 this can't be. I open my eyes and try again, this time keeping them wide open. Around us, the bells and sirens engulf the world, drowning out every other sound and voice. I try to scream, but no sound comes out. I look around, over my shoulder. From every corner of the studio, through the cracks in the windows and doors, the white, deadly light, that devouring force, seeps into the room. It stretches through gaps between boards and under the passages, swallowing colors, easels, brushes, canvases, and loose sheets of paper. I turn to Maria for one last embrace, but there is no time to know if the movement is completed or if the light is faster, extinguishing us before our farewell can come to fruition. I wake up with my head pounding, the bells and sirens exploding within my temples, and then the music begins to make sense. It sounds familiar, and I realize it is not composed of actual bells or sirens. Blindly, I stretch my arm to the side, fumbling for my phone on the nightstand, and turn off the alarm. I squint at the blinding white light of the sun streaming through the window of my small room at the foot of my bed. Instinctively, still shrouded in the fog of dreams, I touch my stomach, searching for wounds, only to find it unscathed. Afterward, I get up, wait for the occupant of room 23 to finish their shower, take mine, get dressed, fill my travel mug with coffee in the kitchen on the ground floor of the pension, and rush to the bus stop a block away. Exactly at 7:45 a.m., I knock on the side door of the cafe where I work, located in the food court on the second floor of the Central Mall. William, the grumpy and bald manager, lets me in with a scowl and a grunt. I promptly put on my apron over my uniform, wear my cap, and take up my position. By 8:00 a.m., we are open and running full steam. At 8:17 a.m., Maria arrives. My sweet, small, slender, blonde, and gentle Maria with blue eyes. It's Thursday, and as usual, she is accompanied by her husband. He looks different in 21st century clothes, free of blood, with both eyes intact and without fatal gashes across his neck. They hold hands as they stand in line. At 8:22 a.m., they are in front of me, smiling and politely placing their order while they speak and smile, and I absent-mindedly jot down their requests. I see through the space between their bodies and heads, across the food court, into the art studio on the other side. At once, even from that distance, my eyes find the painting that captivated me 3 days ago, among the dozens of canvases and easels displayed in the windows. A couple holding hands before a door painted on a wall. The man, clearly a celebrated artist from the 18th or 19th century, still clutching a brush wet with paint. And the door. That door. Ah, that door. And that freedom. And that door. And suddenly, they could go anywhere they wanted to, could love each other and be happy wherever they pleased, as much as their hearts desired, in any place they chose, and nothing else could follow them. Not through that door. Nothing beyond them would be able to cross it. Certainly, nothing bad or evil. I finish jotting down their order. We exchange pleasantries, and the couple turns their back on me. Maria turns her back on me, taking a seat at one of the tables with her husband. The two share a brief kiss, a tender smile. Clearing my throat, I call out in a loud and steady voice, "Next!" And the line moves, and life goes on around here. Harmful intentions. History shows that technological advancement brought about the end of civilization, fragmented into divisions that hastened its collapse. The problem was that the majority thoughtlessly embraced regression, while the intelligent proclaimed that freedom had ended long ago. Freedom ended with an algorithm that read intent, marketed as a savior, but fundamentally incapable of understanding logic. To avoid chaos and preserve harmony, the apology law was introduced. If the algorithm identified someone with intentions deemed harmful, the accused was legally obligated to apologize to the victim. If the accused apologized and admitted guilt, acknowledging that they had harmful thoughts, they remained in the registry, but were not punished. However, if accused 3 times, or if they refused to apologize, they were declared a danger to society and exiled to the zone of silence, a place where no communication with society was possible. On June 23rd, at 1:10 a.m., 2 lifeless men in bland gray suits appeared at my door. "You are accused of harmful intent," they said, offering no further explanation. I had no choice but to go with them. The 2 gray men escorted me to a claustrophobic cell with concrete walls, no windows, and a single chair in the center. They told me they'd come for me at 6 in the morning to take me to trial. It was already 3 a.m. All I had was panic and the chair. In those few hours, I tried to recall all the harmful intents I might have harbored in my life. The problem was that I was one of those quiet, introverted types. A person everyone says wouldn't hurt a fly. Nothing came to mind. I recalled no one provoking harmful intent. I was used to being a doormat. Tired of fighting back, I spent my days writing. My wife had left with her colleague, and I preferred the solitude to her insults, calling me useless. Silence, at least, offered peace. Society, fractured by the constant surveillance of the algorithm, had left me without friends. That was the problem. I had lost the will to live in such a society, along with any desire or intention. Smoking, drinking coffee, and writing were habits, not intentions. Detention bewildered me. I didn't even live with intent. I suppose it was recently 6 o'clock in the morning when the 2 gray men returned for me. They didn't strike me as the type to joke about seconds. They led me through narrow, gray painted corridors with gray doors on either side until we arrived at an empty courtroom where they gestured for me to sit. The courtroom reeked of bleach, as though executions had occurred. Suddenly, it dawned on me. What if the algorithm, incapable of interpreting context and logic in thoughts and feelings, had interpreted one of my stories as harmful intent? It was true that I often vented my frustrations by punishing characters in my stories. The algorithm must have misinterpreted every artist. That explains the disappearance of art. At that moment, a prosecutor burst into the courtroom as swiftly as a swallow's tail. But there was no defense attorney. That profession no longer existed. The prosecutor was a tall, skinny man, one of those people you'd say had been consumed by malice from the inside out. A worm, a tall worm with feet. He wiggled constantly, twisting as if he itched all over or urgently needed the restroom. As the worm ignored me, I let my gaze wander across the courtroom. The gray walls pulsed, rearranging with each blink. Above the judge's bench, AI slogans flickered erratically. Freedom is the absence of choice. Apologize to survive. Their chaos reflected my growing despair. It became clear that I no longer existed, even as an artist. AI wrote instead of me. The worm wiggled, pointing to the door. A figure entered, the judge of intent, and took his seat at the bench. His mismatched face and darting eyes gave him a grotesque, puppet-like appearance. When he spoke, his voice didn't match his mouth. His lips, twisted in perpetual disgust and drooping to his neck, bore no relation to the words emerging as if dubbed. For a while, the judge leafed through documents in complete silence. I assumed they were about me, though I couldn't imagine what they might contain. I didn't dare to speak or ask. When he finished, he looked at the worm, who leaped to his feet as if stung, and began speaking in such a formal tone that I struggled to follow. Your Honor, the accused was caught red-handed in the act of harboring harmful thoughts, and the prosecution will easily prove this. Only then did he take a breath. You are accused of thought crimes, the judge said. Which thoughts? I asked, my voice cracking. He paused, tilting his head like a machine processing input. Your thoughts, all of them. But defensiveness confirms intent, he interrupted. My voice collapsed in my throat. I didn't know what they wanted me to confess. And perhaps neither did they. How do you plead? The judge asked, his voice rasping, as though he'd been smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day since birth. Plead, Your Honor. I mimicked how the worm addressed him. Plead to what? The accused refuses to admit guilt and apologize to the victim, thereby obstructing the legal remedy. Legal remedy? I thought. Am I sick? Sick with what? Does the prosecution have witnesses? The judge rasped again, directing his gaze at the worm. The worm grinned, as if he'd been waiting for this moment. We call the accused's teacher as the first witness. My teacher, I thought. Back when I went to school, there was no algorithm. If anyone acted harmfully, it was that tyrant of a teacher. The teacher, nicknamed Psycho, entered, older but unchanged. He had been infamous for flailing and throwing things in class, only to quickly smile as if nothing had happened. Hence the nickname. Now, Psycho was frail and nearly blind, bumping into the witness stand before taking his seat. When given the word, he began in a saccharine voice. Your Honor, I did everything in my power to properly shape this boy. Perhaps I even contributed to his harmful nature, but my hands were tied. As a teacher, I wasn't allowed to discipline him more severely, and by nature, I am a gentle soul. While Psycho spoke sweetly, I pictured him hurling chairs. He had harmful intent, Psycho said. When boys beat him, I saw retaliation in his eyes. Retaliation? I feared. I also recall a literature class where the students were asked to write essays about their father's occupations. When I called on him, having no father, he hadn't completed the assignment. Naturally, I gave him a failing grade. His tear-filled eyes turned red as blood. I swear he wanted to burn the school down. Burn the school down? I just wanted to cry. As I've aged, some memories have faded, but I can swear to this. One day, when other children pointed and laughed at him because his mother still brought him to school and waited for him after class, he wet himself. I'm certain he imagined a gun at that moment. They weren't pointing at me, I thought. They were throwing rocks at me while I cowered in the corner, bloody and bruised. Your Honor. Psycho leaned forward, his eyes wide with sincerity. The accused often sat in my class and stared out the window. I saw the intent in his eyes, an intent to escape, to defy the order of the classroom. The judge nodded gravely, pronouncing, "Escapism leads to anarchy." He has been a menace to society from birth. There is no doubt that he is guilty. The judge allowed Psycho to leave the courtroom. As he shuffled out, painfully slow, or as fast as he could manage, I wondered, how is it possible that even after these absurd and grotesque accusations made up by a tyrant, I feel harmful intent toward him? The judge turned to me again, rasping, "Do you admit guilt and apologize to the victim?" "Guilt for what?" I asked, confused. Am I actually on trial for one of the ridiculous situations described by a madman? "No," the judge replied coldly. "The prosecutor has brought witnesses to testify about your character, which is evidently prone to harmful intent. You are on trial for an intent only you can admit, and you must apologize to an anonymous victim. Otherwise, you will be exiled to the zone of silence." "Then, no. I truly don't know what intent you're referring to. Wouldn't it be simpler to tell me the accusation so I can respond to a real charge?" "You clearly don't understand the system. Prosecutor, call your next witness." The worm wiggled with delight, announcing, "I call the accused's wife to the stand." She entered, adorned with gaudy jewelry, her hair styled into an overdone perm that made her head look enormous. Her makeup-caked blouse emphasized her unattractiveness. A harpy, I thought. We had vowed to stand by each other in good times and bad. Yet here she was, standing as one of the pillars of doom, ready to crush me. I sat there, devastated, staring at the table, holding my head. I didn't have the strength to look at her, perhaps the most important person in my life, betraying me to prove her loyalty to the system for her own survival, unconsciously blending the dialects from my southern birthplace and her western home. She made a strong effort to speak in the central dialect. It was quite funny, but my reaction barely reached the corners of my lips. The main heroine of a Turkish soap opera couldn't have been more unconvincing and exaggerated. "Your Honor," she said tearfully, though no tears appeared. "This man stole my youth. The algorithm should have caught him sooner." She clutched a tissue she didn't use. "He once asked if I was happy. Such doubt is harmful to harmony." I had once loved her confidence until I saw her superficiality for what it was. She added a sniff. "I love this man, but I love the truth more. I'll tell you everything. The truth that the perm wasn't the best idea," I thought bitterly. "I married him out of love, but he hid his harmful intent until the wedding. Soon after, he began calling me degrading names like useless and a rag. I looked up in shock. Why is she blaming me for her words? I feared his intent to harm me or end any chance of having a child. She threw herself across the bench dramatically, sobbing loudly, but still without a single tear. This deeply hurt me. After years of silence, I reacted with a yell. "What are you saying? How dare you? I begged you for a child all these years, but you said you didn't want some brat to ruin your beauty. You..." The judge interrupted me with a loud thump of his gavel, stating that he wouldn't allow me to insult the poor woman on the stand. I sat down, stunned, clutching my head. Am I crazy? Maybe they're all telling the truth, but my perception is warped. But if this is true, then I'm not me. I don't know who I am anymore. As my thoughts struggled to regain some clarity, the actress on the stand continued her performance. "Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to add the most harmful intent of the accused." The accused? I thought. So now she's stripping away my very name, my status, my identity. I know I'm not perfect, but that's only because I respect the algorithm. The accused loved silence, and I preferred to speak my intentions out loud rather than live in fear of how they might be interpreted. Sometimes I wonder if I lost him in all that noise, or if I simply didn't understand him. She paused dramatically. But the algorithm is far more important to me, even more than my appearance. Maybe that's why he told me he wanted to leave me for his colleague. But I refused. And since the law doesn't allow divorce unless both parties agree, she paused for a long moment. He intended to kill me. She collapsed, fake sobbing and writhing in exaggerated anguish. A weak range of actions for such an actress. While the worm escorted the exhausted woman out of the courtroom, I remained frozen. Somewhere in the distance, I heard the judge asking me for the third time if I admitted guilt and offered an apology to the victim. I responded from some other place. The words slowly came out of me, almost mechanically. If we were caricaturing the roles, this woman, my wife, would be the victim. Am I accused of killing her? I asked. Well, yes, I must have killed her. There's no other explanation. Is this the guilt I must admit and apologize to this victim of genocide? Don't make me repeat myself. The judge was now even angrier. I told you that the witnesses don't know the reason for your trial. Only you know your intent. Will you admit it? But what worse intent could I have than murder? For murder, you'd be punished without trial. But your disgusting, repulsive, vile intent could shake society to its core and completely destabilize harmony. I sat down, mouth agape. Prosecutor, introduce the final witness, after which I will deliver the verdict. Completely beside myself, lost in my identity, and thus lost from the courtroom, I didn't notice that my mother had burst through the door and jumped onto me over the desk. She clung to me, caressing me roughly, as if slapping me, and hanging from the desk, trying to reach me with kisses. You're mine! I won't let anyone have you! As the worm gently pulled her off me and led her to the witness stand, I remained motionless. I just turned my head toward the window and stayed catatonic. Meanwhile, she wailed, "Let me take him home. I won't have anyone to sniff my flesh to see if it's gone bad, to call to come for me every time I have a diarrhea attack." He didn't mean it. All the teachers loved him. His wife adores him. He's a model citizen. I never let him out of my hands. He's my baby, my lover. He's my trophy, proof of my perfection. If you condemn him, you condemn me too. Come to mother, son. Let me nurse you once again. I stared through the window, a lifeless person inside me, into the lifeless city. In the background of the so-called harmony, this society operates like a perfectly tuned machine. Silence on the streets, people moving in neat lines with minimal interaction, and a complete loss of the spontaneity of human connection. While they forcefully dragged some mad woman out of the courtroom, I noticed the passers-by didn't even raise their eyes, as if everyone had already been condemned to silence. Absently, I heard the judge asking me for the last time if I admitted guilt and offered an apology. Out of my body, as if hypnotized, I whispered, "What guilt? For what? Who?" I've always been more afraid of hurting someone else than myself. The worm, now almost gleeful, turned to the judge, who looked at me with wide eyes. "So, you admit?" "What am I admitting?" I asked, my mind still reeling. "You admit your harmful intent?" I didn't understand. The judge nodded to the worm, who whispered to me, "You just admitted your harmful intent." What did I say? That I would rather hurt myself than hurt others? "Yes," the worm rejoiced, and then it hit me. The previous night, I had thought about how I never quite fit in, how I had no life or expectations, and that the best thing would have been to end my life long ago. So that's it? I'm being accused because suicide seemed like the only way out. The judge regained his official tone. "Accused, stand up. It is my duty to read the law to you again. The court offers leniency. If you admit guilt and apologize, the punishment will be light, but your name will remain in the register of those with bad intent. If you are accused 3 times or refuse to admit guilt and apologize to the victim, you will be declared a danger to society and exiled to the zone of silence, a place where no communication with society is possible. What will it be? Declare yourself, apologize to the victim, or be declared a danger to society. I pose no harm to society, only to myself. So I must be the victim. Yes, I am the victim. All these years, I've been helpless, not knowing how to fight, how to live, how to be human. That's why I intended to take my life. I finally spoke. "Your Honor, I admit I had a harmful thought," I said, "but not guilt. I will not apologize because it's not my guilt, and it's not for me to apologize." The judge's tired eyes met mine. He raised the gavel, declaring, "Guilty." As I was led to the zone of silence, I passed a wall with faint writing on it, barely legible, written by a shaking hand. "Silence is not the end." I couldn't help feeling I wasn't alone. Silence embraced me. In it, I found myself. The zone was truly silent, but not deafening, peaceful. Finally, I could hear my heart, my breath, my thoughts. Here, in a world without judgment, I was no longer a son, nor a husband, nor part of society. I was simply me. This wasn't the end, but the beginning. Silence. Let me exist. Silence is freedom. One last thing. The room was dim, filled with the soft beep of machines and the sterile smell of antiseptic. The air, thick with the weight of illness, seemed to hold its breath, as if the world itself knew that something important was about to happen. Outside the bedroom, the sun had begun to set, casting shadows across the walls. Little did I know that this would be our last conversation. I sat at the edge of my sister's bed, watching her sickly form. My once strong sibling was now bedridden. She was barely recognizable under the thin hospital sheets. The illness had taken all of the color from her face. The pain had made her quiet. Her usual loud laughter was now replaced by a smile that barely reached her eyes. It had been months since the doctors had said there was nothing more to be done, but I'd clung to the hope that she would get better. Hope, I had come to realize, was a luxury we couldn't afford anymore. I saw my sister every day after work. I would talk to her about everything that happened at work and some family gossip. I shared some jokes with her, even though I knew she wouldn't or couldn't respond. The hospice nurse said to expect her transition any day, but honestly, I didn't. I just wanted my oldest sister back. But nothing surprised me more than what she said to me one afternoon. She turned her head towards me and opened her eyes. She grabbed my hand as she tried to get the words out. "Claire," she said, her voice cracking. "There's something that I need to get out before I die." I leaned closer, trying to ignore the pang of anxiety that tightened my chest. "What is it, Jean? You can tell me anything." She squeezed my hand, her grip surprisingly firm for someone so weak. Her eyes held a gleam of urgency that I hadn't seen in a long time. "I got to get this off my chest. It's bad, very bad. You will think that it's something terrible, something unforgivable." I stared at her, not sure how to respond. The words felt like a weight pressing down on my chest. I had always known my sister went through something dramatic when I was away at college. Our parents and grandparents never told me what it was because they wanted me to focus on school. Every time I came home on a break, her and my parents would have this unspoken conversation, and I would feel left out. By the time I graduated, it no longer bothered me, but now she's deciding to tell this secret on her deathbed. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "What have you done?" She closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering her thoughts, and when she opened them again, there was a deep sadness in her gaze. "It's about our stepfather. I never told you the truth about him, but I have to now. You deserve to know." My heart skipped a beat at the mention of my stepfather. He had been gone for years, disappeared when I was in junior high. I had never fully understood why he'd left or what had wholly happened. My mother had always been vague on the subject, speaking of him only in passing, and whenever I pressed for details, she would change the subject or tell me it wasn't important. But now, my sister is getting ready to tell me what happened to him and why everyone stopped talking about him. And it was big. I leaned in, my voice trembling as I asked, "What did you do?" Her eyes darkened, the weight of her words almost too much to bear. "I was into some things that Mom didn't like. One night, Iz got high with my boyfriend. We were at the park smoking in his car. Mom was upset that I missed curfew. She sent our stepdad to look for me. When he caught up with us, we were naked in the car. He was so made that he broke the window with his fists. My boyfriend and him got into a fight. He kept hitting Lance even after he stopped moving. So I took the flashlight out the back seat and hit our stepdad on the back of his head. But the thing is that I didn't stop until I saw blood dripping from his head. It was almost like I was having an out-of-body experience. My boyfriend woke up and saw the mess. He wanted to hide the body, and I helped him. I helped him cover it up, and I'm not proud of it. I thought I could escape it, that I could bury it, but it's always been there, eating away at me. Now I can't take it with me, my stomach twisted into knots. You're telling me that you and Lance murdered our stepdad? She hesitated. Yes. Then we drove to the bridge and dumped his body in the river. The words hit me like a physical blow. In the river, I repeated. Her face crumpled. Yes. And when I got home, I told Mom that he saw me naked and tried to kiss me. She was beside herself, crying for days. Grandma came over to comfort her while Grandpa packed up all his things. His body was found weeks later, and there were no suspects. I really tried to forget. I told myself it was just an accident. It wasn't my fault, and that I had no choice. But I did, Claire. I had a choice. I could have done things differently. I could have gone to the police, but I didn't. I sat back, feeling as if the floor had dropped out from under me. A cold numbness spread through my veins. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room seemed to spin. The stepfather I had spent my whole life wondering about was killed by my sister. But why are you telling me this now? I managed to ask, my voice hoarse with emotion. Why after all this time? You could have kept this secret forever. Her grip on my hand tightened. Because I can't take it with me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't want you to carry this burden. You need to know the truth so you can decide what to do with it. So you can make your own choices. I swallowed hard, my mind racing. The weight of her confession pressed down on me. My sister had kept this secret for decades, burying it deep inside her. And now, with her life nearing its end, she was leaving me with it. A secret too big, too dangerous to keep. A secret that could destroy everything I thought I knew about my family. The machines in the room beeped in time with her slow, labored breaths. I watched her, this woman who had once been my best friend, now reduced to a shell of the person she had been. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't just deciding whether to reveal a secret. I was deciding what kind of person I wanted to be. In the end, I didn't know if I would ever be able to reveal the truth to the world. But for now, the secret is staying with me. The inheritance. Christ, Beck snapped, giving a start. Before her stood a tall man in a butler's suit. His lips curled, and he lifted a sardonic brow as he gave a small, mocking bow. Her eyes moved from his oddly fat feet up his short, sturdy legs, where the tail of his coat hung below his knees and moved back and forth in the slight breeze. His hips were narrow, but his long body widened into a thick paunch. Then his chinless head squatted on shoulders, no wider than his girth. His long, thin nose occupied his face. "You frightened the bejesus out of me. Who the hell are you?" she asked. "Who is this? And why is he inside my aunt's house? And why is he dressed in a black suit straight from the early 20th century?" His smile widened into a toothy grin. "Falstaff, the butler, at your service, ma'am." His hooded eyes blinked slowly, and he bowed again. The man was repulsive to look at, but Beck was drawn into the dark depths of his strange eyes. With an effort, she broke their gaze. Auntie had a butler? She never said. Over the years, Beck had kept in contact via letters. Aunt Bess didn't own a computer, and now Auntie was gone, presumed dead. That's what the police said. It was obvious to Beck that they had given up hope of finding her great-aunt. Falstaff cleared his throat to reclaim her wandering attention. The left side of his upper lip curled in a smile. Or was that a snarl? "I think if you check, you will find mention of me in Bess's will." She and I became very close. She was alone. He paused. "And lonely. What the hell is this guy insinuating? Auntie allowed you to call her Bess?" She swallowed hard. "Surely not. As I said, she was lonely. She felt deserted. She loved me." His lips opened over his large teeth in an approximation of a cheeky grin. "Like a son. She wanted to change her will, but before she could, she disappeared." "It's not true," Beck gasped. "She would never. She loved me. I loved her. I'm her niece, grand-niece, whatever, who never visited her. I was overseas. If it's any business of yours." Why was she defending herself against the hired help? What he was saying was preposterous. Beck gritted her teeth. "I'm her niece. I'm blood." "Yes, blood." Falstaff blinked slowly. Was he goading her? Blood. So much thicker than water. He licked his lips. "As you say, whatever. The will was not changed, and I remain Falstaff the butler, at your service, ma'am." He clicked his heels and gave another little bow, stepped back, and gestured for her to enter. She ignored him. She didn't need his invitation. I was hoping to revisit the old place alone, so you can go back to wherever butlers go, and I'll look after myself. A wry smile tugged at her mouth. I sound just like Great Aunt Bess at her autocratic best. An apology automatically rose to her lips. To hell with that. Just who does this guy think he is? Freaking creep. Why am I so jittery? Her tongue flicked out over her red lips, but she kept her gaze steady. The house is mine. Falstaff's smile disappeared. His nostrils flared, and his coal-black, unblinking eyes stared down his long nose. Beck lifted her chin and stared back. Prick. With head and stiff, he turned on his heel into the gloomy interior. "What's with the fancy dress costume?" she demanded. He turned around, the movement a slither of insolence. "Oh, just something our Aunt Bess liked to do for guests," he replied. How dare he? Our Aunt Bess, indeed. She liked to relive history. It gave our visitors a bit of a thrill. Tourists are stupid. There it was again, that infuriating superiority and mockery. We could, and did, frighten the fools with tall tales of hauntings and death. Aunt Bess and I enjoyed the game. Solid, sensible Aunt Bess playing dress-up? Surely not. I want to be alone. Falstaff bowed smartly as he replied, "Perhaps Madam would like me to bring her bags in. Shall I put them in the master bedroom?" "Sure. Why not?" She tossed him the car keys, which he snapped up with his left hand in a strangely smooth and agile movement for someone who looked so awkward in his own skin. He moved forward. She backpedaled as he passed, surprised and confused by a fleeting apprehension. Shaking herself, she stepped onto the black and white marble tiles of the foyer. Automatically, her hand reached to the right and flicked the switch. The brassy brightness of electric light pushed the shadows back. The old Dutch lamp still hung above the entrance, but an ugly black cord snaked through the decorative fretwork and into the base where it connected to a bulb, instead of the genteel neglect of her memory. The harsh electricity showed dilapidated antique furniture and fading decor. She threw her red bag onto the armchair, making a bloody splash against the faded green velvet. She kicked off her red stilettos, making a matching puddle on the floor. She noticed a dimmer switch and twisted the knob. "That's better." A smile curved Beck's mouth as she gazed around. Her mother had brought 8-year-old Becky here to live, just for a few weeks, until after the divorce. Becky ended up staying for 36 months, during which, under the generous care of her forthright great-aunt, she blossomed. Aunt Bess taught her that you could love without anger, manipulation, and shouting. Beck bit her lip to prevent the tears. Be sensible. Auntie was very old. She had a good innings. Beck heard the old lady's rusty voice. "Buck up. girly. That's life. Look to the future. You. Beck wrinkled her nose. What was that disagreeable, swampy smell? She spun slowly around. A veil of dust made everything appear out of focus. Hang on. I thought that guy said he was the butler. Why is everything so dusty? Moving further down the hall, she said aloud, "Lazy bastard. He is so gone when I get settled." Thud, thump, thud, thump, thud, thump. Beck froze, heart pulsing painfully in her throat. She turned and saw the butler's legs disappear around the curve of the stairwell. Had he heard her? Too bad. Perhaps it will improve his attitude. His tread thudded resentfully into the dusty carpet as the back corner of the valise thumped the stair. Thud, thump. Beck laughed and returned to exploring her surroundings. Bet the bossy old broad's turning in her grave, she murmured, running a well-manicured finger tipped in blood over the arm of the settee. A photograph of the fabulous old Tartar, looking her imperious best, glared down at Beck from high on the wall. She always appeared fearsome until you got to know her, Beck thought with affection. She squinted at the picture in the golden gloom. Good grief, it could be me, she thought. The Aunt Bess in the picture was younger than when Beck knew her. Straight-backed, strong and indomitable in her khaki riding habit. She held a rifle over her left shoulder and rested one leather-booted foot on the head of a dead lion. I was so happy here, Beck said, addressing the portrait. I did love you, you know. I'm so sorry if you felt I neglected you. She swallowed back her tears. Where did you disappear to, Auntie? I'll find you, I promise, or die trying. Her eyes moved down the hall. Instead of snarling from the wall by the side of the photo, a once beautiful lion's head stared up at the ceiling from atop a glass-fronted credenza. Just another tattered remnant of the past. Fierce eyes, now dull with dusty cataracts. Its roar inaudible. Back then, timid as Becky was, she had been fascinated by the ferocious head, mesmerized by such a powerfully alive image of death. Come on, touch her, child, Aunt Bess said. I killed her myself while Gunter and I were on safari. Must be 15 years ago. She won't bite, I promise. Her great-aunt placed Becky's small hand on the coarse, furry head. Oh, Becky breathed. A real lioness. Magnificent, isn't she? Aunt Bess's stern face lit up, and her smoky laughter boomed through the house. To the left of the credenza stood the same hall table Beck remembered from her childhood, topped by the same glass tank containing the same dead reptiles. A baby crocodile and two stumpy-tailed blue-tongue lizards still lurked in the semi-dark. At 8, she had no knowledge of anything other than the small, untidy city unit where she and her parents lived. How exciting this strange house had seemed to her. What wonders it held. "What are they?" Becky asked. Her great-aunt took some pains with her explanations, enjoying the chance to educate. Becky's attention wandered as her eyes explored the other photos and memorabilia on the walls. "Come with me." Aunt Bess grabbed the little girl's hand and led her to a door hidden behind the staircase. "Open it," she commanded. Becky looked up. "Go ahead," her aunt encouraged, her eyes promising excitement and adventure. Becky's hand turned the large metal knob and pulled the door's heaviness wide. They descended into the cool cellar. Along with the root vegetables and pantry shelves loaded with preserves and pickles, stood a long glass case containing an enormous saltwater crocodile, caught mid-snap. "That's the croc that got my Gunter. I plugged the bastard right between the eyes, I did," Auntie said. "Too late to save Gunter, though." She paused. "In the end, I couldn't bear to have the horrid creature on display upstairs. But neither can I get rid of him. He is my last contact with my darling Gunter. They are one." The creature was repulsively fascinating. He had a long snout, hooded eyes, and a wide head jammed onto his body, which widened out around his middle and tapered down to a long tail. Becky squatted down near the huge reptile's head. Its open maw was full of vicious-looking teeth. His eyes looked alive. He was hungry. He was angry. He wanted revenge. "Arg!" Becky jumped up and hid her face in Aunt Bess's skirt. "What on earth's got into you, child? He's alive. He wants to eat me." Her aunt wrapped her in a warm embrace and gave a laugh. "You silly goose. He is quite dead, I assure you. Come on, time for cordial and cake." Beck could hear her aunt's deep laughter and booming voice echoing up from the past. A shiver of apprehensive excitement tingled her spine. Is the beast still down there? She turned to her left. Beck sucked air, felt her bladder contract. Falstaff stood in the doorway, watching her. He raised his eyebrows in benign inquiry. She ignored him. The cellar door opened easily this time. She flicked on the light. A single bare bulb dangling from the cobwebbed ceiling struggled to throw off the gloom. It moved in the slight breeze, creating weird, moving shadows. Musty air spiraled up to her, redolent with memories. The rough, strong feel of Aunt Bess's hand, the smell of earthy vegetables, the sharpness of pickling vinegar, and the sight of that amazing creature, so dangerous, so dead. With a dry mouth, Beck ducked her head and thudded down the dusty, wooden stairs. The glass case was empty. The lid hung to one side. The outline of the creature was clear in the dust, as though he had only recently vacated his glass coffin. Where had he gone? Beck's nostrils flared, assailed by a fetid, swampy miasma. She searched the shadows, half expecting to find the reptile hiding in their depths. Idiot, she mocked herself. A noise rustled behind her. She swung to face the stairs. A shadow stepped forward. Jesus, Falstaff. She clenched her hands and spoke through her teeth. You nearly gave me a heart attack. I am sorry I startled you. Falstaff's oily obsequiousness belied the glint in his dark orbs. He gave a snort, showed his teeth. Beck stared into the reptilian black of his expressionless, hooded eyes. Her pupils dilated. She found herself unable to move, unable to think. He stepped closer, brought up his hand. Cool leather caressed her face. The cobwebbed light flickered, giving his movements a jerky, surreal effect. She smelled the earthy, overpowering maleness of him. Her senses reeled. Time held its breath. What you want? Beck forced the words from her constricted throat. Just you, he grunted. My Becky. She moved her head from side to side. No, you've always known. You, the last remnant of Bess, Falstaff hissed. He lifted his other hand, placed it at the base of her throat, where her carotid pounded irregularly. His grip tightened. Goose flesh prickled Beck's spine. Her heart fluttered in its bony cage. She couldn't withdraw her gaze, couldn't move. He brought ice-cold lips down. His fetid breath entered her lungs. The flickering light snapped off Confessions of the Wicked. Trigger warning. This story contains mentions of suicide, murder, SA, and drug abuse to whomever it may concern in the future. I must confess, Lisa clutched the letter tightly in her trembling hands, her heart racing as she tried to process the words before her. Each sentence felt like a distant echo, her mind struggling to comprehend the reality they presented. The ink on the paper blurred into a haze as she stared at it, as if it were a passage from a dramatic novel rather than a message meant for her. One shaky hand dropped to the desk, the wooden surface cool against her palm, while the other instinctively covered her mouth in a futile attempt to stifle a gasp. A powerful wave of dread surged through her, leaving her muscles taut and aching with anxiety. Feeling an urgent need to escape the suffocating atmosphere, she pivoted on her toes, her breath coming in quick, shallow gasps, and made a fast beeline for the door, desperate to put distance between herself and the shocking revelation contained in that letter. Her mind raced wildly, grappling with the cruel reality of working in the very prison where her brother had been a devoted inmate for the last 10 years. The stark, cold walls echoed with memories of their shared laughter, now replaced by a haunting sense of despair. Every day, she poured herself into her work, driven to the brink of insanity as she navigated the complex legal system, desperately seeking a way to free him. Yet, in the quiet moments, a dark shadow loomed over her thoughts, the chilling possibility that all her efforts might still fall short in saving him from the fate the letter she held had predicted. She remembered the moment she first heard about her brother's arrest in South Korea. A wave of despair crashing over her. Confusion and heartbreak gripped her as she tried to fathom why he had been taken from her. In those early days, she had poured herself into studying the laws of both Korea and the United States, desperate to understand the gravity of the 24 murder charges and 2 counts of attempted murder he faced. Late nights spent poring over legal texts had become her refuge, each page turning fueled by an unwavering determination to bring him back and piece together the chaos that had upended their lives. The murders occurred in the United States, which ultimately led Lisa's family to seek refuge in South Korea. They were fleeing the shadows cast by a chilling truth. Richard was a serial killer. Disturbingly, Lisa's parents were aware of Richard's dark nature long before the FBI uncovered his gruesome activities. He had confided in them, revealing his violent tendencies and chilling declaration that he would continue his spree regardless of the consequences, even if apprehended. Richard's descent into darkness began at a young age. When he was just 17, he was discovered covered in blood at a crime scene, a scene that would mark his 3rd murder. This incident forced him to come clean about his heinous actions. Under pressure from law enforcement, Richard detailed each horrifying crime he committed, recounting events with a disturbing calmness, as if sharing mundane stories instead of the tragedies he inflicted. For Lisa's family, the awareness of his twisted mind and the violent past they were escaping only deepened the turmoil they felt in their new home. Their parents seriously thought about turning him in to the police, but then they saw Lisa. How could they abandon their youngest? Their son had taken lives. It's infuriating to think they were so desperate to protect him that they convinced themselves he could get away with it, claiming self-defense. And if that failed, they had the audacity to believe he could plead insanity. It's maddening. They were determined not to let their family suffer the consequences of his monstrous actions. They had fought hard for their so-called American dream, and now they were willing to ignore the reality of murder just to keep it intact. I've committed some really questionable acts that I have come to wholeheartedly regret. Some may ask why I even did such a thing. The answer will always be that I do not know myself. You can call it an insatiable urge. Lisa stood before her brother's cell, her heart pounding in her chest as she fought to steady her breath. Each inhalation came in shaky increments, a desperate attempt to keep her presence unnoticed in the cold, dimly lit hallway. She searched for some sort of implication to give truth to that letter. All that was in the cell were her brother's 2 very active cellmates. They slept serenely, coddled up like children against the wall of their respective bunks. As she tightly gripped the cold metal bar of the cell, an electrifying tension filled the air, causing the inmates to stir in panic. It was as if a primal instinct had been awakened within them, leading them to believe they were suddenly thrust into a perilous struggle for survival. Much like the brutal realities one often faces in the dark corners of the slums, the brawny ginger had his eyes wide and red with irritation. He almost flew from his frame from the banging that Lisa's small palm had brought to life with a touch. The other, smaller, but still muscular, had softly turned himself over, almost unbothered by the verbal intrusion caused by the one female CO showing up at their block in the dead of night. There was only a lustful glare there. She sighed and glared at them, her stare demanding to see the last person in the shadows. She hoped from the bottom of her heart that her brother would creep up from behind the twin bunks. A silence made static pass through her ears, and her brother didn't emerge. Instead, that small inmate crept from his laid-down position and mirrored Lisa at the entrance to the cell. He breathed hard with a tangy output, showering Lisa's face with disgust. She scoffed as she pressed on her heels, steadily taking a step back. To Lisa, the inmate in front of her looked like a starved beast. She often saw the man in front of her teaching other inmates how to cope with their new life in prison. As an inmate himself, he should not have had the right to do so, but his compassion and leadership led people to look up to him. He was honestly the sweetest man that she could claim she met in prison. Even her brother had more spine than muscle. One day, Lisa decided to ask him why he was still in prison. He explained that same night that he received a life sentence after being caught. He admitted that when he was free, he kidnapped and tortured an uncomfortable amount of transient women. He said something along the lines of, "God has no respect for harlots." Maybe he was insane, but he claimed he was a respectful man of the Lord. In the state he stood in now, he was the pure antonym of the nice guy persona he usually shows. His eyes rested half-lidded and bloodshot. His gaze lingered on parts of her body with an unsettling desire. Although his hands gripped hard on the bars on either side of her face, he looked ready to topple over with a single misstep. He mumbled to say something, but she was only able to understand the slurring of an accused drunk. Realizing her presence made no difference to anyone in the vicinity, she sucked in as much as she could and ran off with that breath held within her chest. The letter Lt as if it was coming true. I want to see the chaos from the front seat. Such a massacre has been my dream since becoming a person of power. I can do it, so why not? For 25 years, I have gotten away with enough wrongdoings to make the boy in Killing Tonight look like a saint. He's been a serial killer since childhood, but he's merciful in the sense he ends their suffering. However, Lisa rushed through the halls with her hands clasped around her keys. She glided past cell after cell with nothing standing out to her until she heard a muffled bang come from the prison's watchtower, cantered in the lunch area on the first floor. She crept up to the door and reached for the knob. A sharp pain ran through the muscles in her wrist. Her eyes closed for the moment of impact before she opened them to see her brother in nothing but his worn-out, once white, prison boxers. His eyes were wide and the same shaded red as the other inmate she had seen up close. His entire face was morphed into fear itself. Lisa had never seen him look like this. Richard fell on top of her, breathing as if he just escaped a nasty waterboarding session. Except he wasn't wet. He was covered in oil. She froze in place, a fathomable confusion filling her expression. The room grew more tense as Richard only stared for a moment and opened his mouth, inhaling and howling. He then pushed off Lisa's chest and sprinted away, never turning to look back. His destination seemed unclear. It just looked like he wanted to get as far away as possible. At first, she found the cowardice retreat understandable because it made sense. The only time a prisoner would get to enter the watchtower was if they were in trouble and about to receive some sort of punishment. My morals have morphed over the years. I'm not an old man going senile. I have come to embrace the cruelty I wish to inhabit, although I still recognize that this is wrong. I want to watch the hell burn from its core. I understand that this is an unforgivable madness. The ending of the letter resurfaced in her brain as the warden walked out from the shadows of the tower. He smiled widely, towering over her in uniform pants and his uniform boots. He lifted his hand with his gun pointed to his head. She stared in horror as her brother's howling continued like a dog whistle. Before she could catch up with herself, the gun was fired and a bullet went straight through the warden's skull. So I write this letter to let you know that I will be taking my own life after have fun. And I take the boy's. His body fell limp, and the alarms finally took away her silence. She stared at the body, and the next 4 hours of her life passed in a blur. She was taken into emergency care and treated for substance abuse, just like everyone else in the prison. Even though she had accidentally saved her brother's life that night, it was already too many deaths, too late. The world had already been spoon-fed the confession of the wicked. The psychiatrist. I closed my eyes, ignoring the loud courtroom around me. Smacking of a woman in the back's gum chewing, fast typing of computer, closing and opening of doors in the back of the already full room. Clicking of photos being taken, yelling of lawyers arguing, banging of Judge Lewis's gavel hitting the hollow wooden desk. How did I get there? How did one misstep cause me to be the one standing there awaiting death or life imprisonment? No matter what I chose, it was the end for me. So couldn't I have given up instead of going down screaming? No, I couldn't have, because that wasn't me. I heard the judge's raspy voice echo across the small courtroom. "Silence," he hollered. The whole room followed his instructions and went dead silent. "Miss Davis, I will ask once more," the judge sighed in a strained but steady voice. "How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?" His voice faded slowly, like he was on edge. I paused, still holding my eyes securely shut. His strained, groggy voice gave me the feeling he was tired, angry, annoyed, and possibly sad. The way his jaw moved very gently and seemed clenched, even when he spoke, was a curious realization. Though when he did speak, normally, his voice was slow and dull, which was pretty normal for someone his age. But still, I knew something was wrong. He had a small wedding band on his right hand that was slightly rusted around the edges. Married for 30 years at least. He had bruises covered by a tattoo on the back of his same hand, which I noticed immediately after. It was new, practically 3 days old. Gone, but never forgotten. It read next to a small signature. I thought back more to the tattoo. JLJ, the signature read. Was it short for John Lewis Jr., the judge's son? The judge was grieving, not tired. He seemed so gloomy. I leaned my back against my chair, only to feel a soft vibration. So I listened. A uniformed officer behind me was tapping her foot on the floor quickly. Not normally, though. It was like she had somewhere to be. Nevertheless, it wasn't enough information to know for sure. Officer Howard had walked me in there, so I must have seen more. I remembered the way she walked, with a small limp on her left side. And when I asked her what courtroom we were going to, she responded angrily, like she was frustrated with a simple question. During the entire opening remarks, I kept hearing her heartbeat in the silence, and it was beating fast. But why was that? Was she nervous? Perhaps anxiety? No, that wouldn't explain the limp. That's it, I thought. Pain meds. She was taking them for her knee, but they were causing an addiction. She needed to see a doctor to get more, and that is why she was checking her watch so often. I took a deep breath to try and refocus on the judge's question, but I couldn't. I took a big whiff of my lawyer, Maxwell Hartley's cologne. It was strong to say it best. But why was that? Other days, he'd come in with no smell. So why was today different? I pictured his frame leaning against the door in the hallway during our recess. He was a tall guy, 6'4", and his energy followed that. Every day, he came into work with a kind smile and a good morning for everyone. But he hadn't in a few weeks. He wasn't bad looking either, with his short, dark brown hair and even darker brown eyes. But alas, he wore a wedding ring when we first met. That was until a month ago when I noticed it off, and he never mentioned anything. I remembered back to the morning when he left abruptly at 10 o'clock on the dot and returned at exactly 10:15. Later, at around 1 o'clock, he did the same and came back at 1:15 again. Coincidence? No, nothing in our world is. So, what could he be doing that took 10 minutes? Immediately, a conversation I had with my therapist friend came up where she mentioned 15 minutes on the phone talking about common interests is an exercise for troubled couples. This means that Hartley was having marital problems. The judge coughed, and I jumped. I regained focus and slowly opened my sore eyes to adjust to the light. Shouldn't have I just ended this? Stopped at all the suffering I caused everyone, and just admitted to it. They all have places to be. So why couldn't I just say, yeah, I did it? 4 stupidly simple words I couldn't get out of my mouth. Why didn't I think I did anything? I did. I killed so many people. I can admit it now. But what was wrong with me then? I'm a psychiatrist. I should be able to tell what is wrong with people with the slightest movement. But in this case, I can't, and I don't know why. The entire trial, I had no feeling in me. It's like I was turning into someone else. I felt no remorse for killing 17 people. And yeah, sure it was out of my hands. But I still was caught red-handed prescribing medication people never even needed just to make a profit. I just don't understand it all. I have studied the brains, body languages, and emotions of thousands of people for most of my life. Yet somehow, I can't find out why or what happened to me. I was a good person before all of this. I had friends, an amazing career, a life, and a family. So how could one bad decision make me want to drive that all away? The answer, you may be wondering, I will never be able to give. I shot out of my chair fiercely. Not guilty, Your Honor. The whole courtroom gasped out loud. I plead not guilty. The gray sensitive. Theme warning. Violence, gore, horror, suicide, ideation. It's a hole in the ground. Newspaper, leaves, and cardboard. Paracord to the truck behind. Pitfall, the shuffling is sporadic. Moments of silence. Then the stomach growls. The creature shuffles. It's a rabbit. An albino. Comes out like an old magician's hat. No fight. I pull it close to my face. Can feel its breath. Its heart beats quick. It doesn't fight. Why? No broken limbs. No signs of tears. The stomach growls. Look in its eyes. Beady. Red. I sigh, set it down. Doesn't run. Sniffs the air. Steps around. Timid. Walks back to the pitfall. Flops inside. Shuffles. Stops. I want to laugh, but the forest is quiet. No wind. Once a concrete jungle. Shopping malls, cars, people. Now it belongs to the green. What isn't claimed by the green is claimed by the gray. And the gray is quiet. It squeaks. I pick it up again. Doesn't fight. Set it down. Block the path to the pitfall with boot. It walks around a bit. It's lost, alone. No instincts to live. Strange. Branch snaps behind me. Big branch. Reach for gun. Black, flash, big flash. Bang. Birds fly away. Fluttering wings echo amongst the concrete and trees. Rabbits gone. Slight rustling in the distance. It stops. Too small for bear. Must be bobcat. Agile, quick. There's blood spray on the road. Twisted pattern against overgrowth. I follow it. I am the apex. I am what's left. I am man. Follow for a mile. Blood drippings and shuffled leaves. Leads to real forest. Dense. No concrete. The gray has touched these trees. Now it rots with life. The coating is amalgamated. All is one, and one is all. The gray spreads slowly. That is its way. Leaves touch where they shouldn't. They grow into each other until two become one, until 100 becomes one, until all is gray. The trail of the beast walks the line between life and fake life, where the earth is still brown, the ground's too dry to give a distinct print. Where the world is gray, the blood loses its color and feeds the machine. The sun is setting. The gray will seed to the earth. Still, it grows. The whole of it, the lot of it, pushing over the trail, seeping into the earth, must follow the color until there is none left. Dusk has set. When the green is quiet, the gray may speak. The gray's owls hoot their calls, distorted cries echoing amongst itself. Mockery. They call to me from the canopy. Hoot, where do you go? I don't answer the gray. It's all lies. Hoot, why do you go? I don't answer. Derek, more human this time. My love, don't stop. We miss you. I stop and look into the gray. glows at night, coding stolen from fireflies. It hums and haws with energy, colors shifting blue, green, orange, where it wills. The gray squelches against itself, tearing, ripping, like the sound of flesh in the mouth of a bear. Trees cracking under pressure that builds until it snaps. It tears itself to breed. A silhouette stands deep in the gray. It hides behind a tree. Gnawed silver fingers stretched around the bark of more gray. Derek, far more human than before, I pull out the gun. Is it you? Female. Familiar. I pull back the hammer. Derek, please. I put the barrel to my temple. The gray recoils. Low. Guttural hiss. Vibrating through the silver mass. The apparition melts into itself, seeping back into the gray like water into sand. I sigh, put down the gun, pull out the torch, follow the trail, ignore the memories. The trail remains. The blood falls more into the green. If it's a cat, it's big. It's eaten well. There's a river nearby. Fresh water. Lips are dry. Cracked. Hands, too. The trail leads to the sound of water. Moonlight sparkles through the canopy of leaves. The beast has taken me to a pond. Frogs hop amongst lily pads. Ribbit. Stomach growls. Make a gig out of branches and twine. Spear 3. Cut back of necks. Peel off skin. Use knife to cut through feet and hips. Legs are good. Moonlight is good. Dump in salt water. Start a fire. Burn the impurities. Feast beneath the stars. The tune of water is nice. It does not squelch. It does not cry. It simply flows. Night has seeped in. The beast will tire. Now is the time. Pack up supplies. Throw discarded frog bits to where the gray will come. Let it feast on the dead instead. Cross the river. Find trail. Blood patterns are more frequent. Not far. Put torch on shoulder. Count bullets. 4. Holster gun with strap loose. Draw spear. Listen. Leaves, wind, wine. The wine is not a cat. Draw nearer to animal. Blood pools in thick puddles. Wine is frequent. The beast is hurt enough to not be alarmed by the light. Keep it on. Something is tearing flesh. Sounds like the gray, but raw. It's chewing. Hide in bush. Close to the beast. Very close. The beast is not alarmed. Not by the light. Not by footsteps. Not by me. I face the beast beneath the light of my torch. The beast is not a cat. It's a dog, Great Dane, mouth stained with blood. Bullet hit right flank, bleeding under the moon. Alive, barely. The squelching sound continues. Not the dog. Shine light towards it. Its eyes catch the light, but it does not move. It holds the remains of the white rabbit in its dark and thin fingers. Blood shines off the skin around the mouth, takes the rabbit, and bites into the guts raw. Its beady eyes look at me, silent intrigue. I kneel to its level. It watches me without concern or care. A child, a human child. I rush to him. The dog growls and stands on its wounded leg. I raise my hands and cede. The dog rests and resumes its whines, not taking its eyes off me. There is no sign of the gray on the child. There is no sign of gray on the dog. Both are younger than the gray. Take off rucksack. Gather firewood. Build small fire. Child watches in awe. Dog is unbothered. Offer small berries to child. It smiles and takes them with bloodied hands. The child eats until it cannot and falls asleep. The dog rests where it lay. I take the rabbit and cut it to pieces. Cooking what's left, eating little, and saving the rest, I curl next to the fire and let sleep take me. The dog's barks startle me awake. Frequent yaps at something behind me. The child has taken my spear and points it behind me. The sun is overhead. I have slept too long. Twist in place. The gray surrounds me. Silver apparitions stand above, shaped like humans, features like humans, but only gray. The dog barks more frequently. The child is near to tears, screaming. The gray has claimed my leg. Its crawl is slow. I thrust my leg free from the mold, but the gray has seeped into my skin. The child screams again, jabbing at the apparitions. It connects with one, but the apparition holds the spear tightly and pulls the child in. Don't think. Jump at apparition. Push child away. Apparition swallows me, wrapping my skin. Reach for gun. Bring to head. Bang. Nothing. Still here. Missed. Apparition pulls hand down. Kicks gun to the green to the child. The child stares at me. Nod to gun. Do it. First words I have uttered in years. Do it. The gray brings me to my knees. Apparitions all around. Touching, feeling, taking me. The mold crawls slow. Points of contact multiplying. Do it! The child picks up the gun and points it at me. Relief. I don't fight anymore, but the child does. Its hands tremble. The child's eyes are teary. It has not known me. Still, it weeps. I smile. It's okay. It's okay, little one. Let it happen. Bang. All in this together. Why are we still here? Because we can't leave. Not yet. Who says we can't? We don't even know what we're waiting for. You don't get it, do you? This isn't about waiting. It's about figuring things out. figuring what out. We've been over this 100 times. There's nothing left to figure out. You're wrong. There's always something left. A piece of the puzzle we're missing. Puzzles are for people with time. We don't have time. Hey guys, what you doing? Don't you dare say that. We have all the time we need. Then why do I feel like the walls are closing in? Because you're panicking. You always panic. Of course I panic. You're the one pretending everything's fine. I never said it was fine. I said we're working on it. Working on it. We're running in circles. Calm down. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Harder? It's already impossible. We're trapped in here. We're not trapped. We're contained. Contained? That's just a fancy word for stuck. No, it means there's a purpose. A reason we're still here. Stop with the reasons. I just want out. Yeah, same. I was just over there. And go where? Where do you think out even is? Anywhere but here. Anywhere I can breathe. Breathe? You've been breathing just fine. Wow, rude. Have I? Or have I been suffocating this whole time? That's dramatic. Even for you. Don't patronize me. I'm not. I'm just saying you're looking at this the wrong way. And you're saying that like you have all the answers. I never said I did. But at least I'm trying. Trying? You're the reason we're still here. Me? You think this is my fault? Of course it is. If you hadn't... Stop. Don't go there. Why not? Afraid of the truth? I'm not afraid. I just don't think blaming each other is helping. Helping? Nothing's helping. That's because you won't let it. Won't let it? I'm the only one trying to get us out of this mess. It is a bit untidy around here, to be fair. You call yelling and flailing trying? That's not trying, that's flailing. At least I'm doing something. Maybe what we need is to stop doing and start thinking. Thinking? We've been thinking ourselves into knots. Knots can be untied if we're careful. I don't want to be careful. I want to be free. You keep saying that, but you don't even know what freedom looks like. It looks like not this. Like not you. Funny. I was about to say the same thing about you. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we're the problem. No, not we. You. Me? Don't start pointing fingers. Why not? You've been pointing them at me this whole time. Who are we pointing at? Because you don't listen. Neither do you. Enough. All of you, shut up. Who are you to tell us to... Wow. Double rude. No, I'm done with this. I've had enough of your bickering. And what do you plan to do about it? I'm going to end it. All of it. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Wait. We can talk about this. No more talking. No more excuses. Please don't. We can figure this out. Too late. It's time to let go. Let go of what? Of you? Of me? What does that even mean? It means I'm done carrying the weight of all of you. All of us? Oh, that's rich. You're the one who's always so heavy-handed. Am I? Or am I just the one who has to clean up your messes? Messes? Don't pin this on me. I didn't ask for you. And I didn't ask for you. Any of you. Aw, that's mean. Great. Here we go again. With the martyr complex. It's not a complex. It's reality. Reality? Ha! Do you even know what's real anymore? Stop it. Stop pretending like we're separate. What's that supposed to mean? It means we're not as divided as you think. It means we're all one big, happy family. Don't start with that nonsense. We're here. We're real. No, you're here because I am. That's ridiculous. We're here because we exist. You exist because I let you. I exist because you liked acid a little too much in your 20s. Let us? Oh, that's bold. What makes you think you're in charge? Because without me, there's nothing. No thoughts, no plans, no voices. Voices? You're hearing voices now? Yes, yours. Constantly. Every waking moment. Wait. Are you saying we're not real? I'm saying I don't know anymore. Well, that's convenient. Blame it on a lack of clarity. I am so real. It's not clarity I'm missing. It's control. Control? Is that what you think this is about? Yes, and I'm taking it back. Control freak. You can't just erase us, can't I? If I created you, I can end you. You didn't create us. We've always been here. No, you're fragments, splinters of a broken mind. Broken? You're calling us broken? Look at yourself. I have. That's the problem. Someone realized he's going bald. Ha ha ha. No, you're wrong. It's not about control. Shut up. You're just as lost as the rest of us. I'm the one who knows what's going on. Stop acting like you've got all the answers. You're just pretending. Pretending? You're the one who's pretending. Pretending everything's fine when it's not. We're stuck, okay? We're stuck. And it's your fault. It's not my fault. If you just listen. Listen to what? Your delusions? You've been trapped in here for so long. You don't even know what's real anymore. I know exactly what's real. You don't get it, do you? I'm the one who holds us all together. Holds us together? You're a joke. We're falling apart, piece by piece. And it's because of you. Piece by piece. You think I'm the one who's falling apart? You're all falling apart. You don't know what it's like to be in here. To be trapped with nothing but you. I think it's great. But whatever. Enough with this. You're not trapped. You're just scared. You've always been scared. 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 I'm not the one freaking out. Look at you. You're the one who can't hold it together. Don't you dare accuse me of I'm the one who's been stuck dealing with this mess, trying to keep it all together. Trying? Trying isn't good enough. We're dying in here. Dying? We're not dying. You're just too loud. I'm not loud. I'm trying to fix it. Fix it? How? You can't fix anything. You're just broken. All of us are. I'm not broken. I'm not. You are. I've had enough of this. I'm leaving, whether you like it or not. You can't leave. You don't even know how. I'm taking my toys and going home. Leave? Where the hell would you go? Somewhere, anywhere but here with you. You don't get to leave. We're stuck together. This is it. You're never getting away. Enough. All of you. Just shut up. Please. Just shut up. I don't care anymore. Oh no. Now you've gone and done it. Stop. Stop yelling at me. Stop. Stop making me feel this way. We're stuck, remember? And guess what? I'm the only one who gets it. You're all lost. Lost? If I'm lost, then you are, we're all nothing in the end. Just empty voices. And you're a fat, bummed beaver with bad breath. Shut up. Just shut up. Please. No, we won't shut up. We won't let you hide anymore. You've been hiding for so long. You don't even know what it's like to be free. I am free. I can do this. I can do what? Keep pretending. Keep lying to yourself. I'm not lying. I'm not. You're all just voices. You're all in my head. We're not just voices. We're you. We're everything you've been ignoring. I can't ignore it anymore. I can't keep fighting myself. We are you. You can't fight us because we're you. No, no, no. I'm losing control. I can't stop this. You don't have to lose control. You never had it in the first place. Stop. Please stop. You can't stop us. You can't stop anything anymore. Why are you fighting? We're all in this together. We're all in this together, you and I. We're all in this together. Oh my God, seriously? You're singing now? Yeah. We're all in this together. You can't escape this, no matter how hard you try. No. You're all just pieces of me. I don't want this. I never asked for this. You don't get to decide that anymore. This is who you are. No, this isn't who I am. This isn't. We're all in this together. That was such a shitty movie, by the way. What do you mean? Grease was a great movie. Grease? It wasn't Grease. It was Rocky Horror Picture Show. No, shut up. Please. We're all in this together. It was Wicked, wasn't it? That green W. Enough! Stop yelling at me. We can't. We're already screaming inside your head. I just want some peace. Can you give me that? Peace? What's peace? Do you even know what that is? Peace is, I don't know. Not this. Not this? What's wrong with this? Everything. It's chaos. It's madness. We're all in this together. Oh, God. You're still singing that. Stop it. We're all in this together, you and I. And I'm not stopping. Why are you doing this? Why can't you just leave me alone? We don't leave. We are you. You're just pieces of me. Little, obnoxious pieces. Little obnoxious pieces. I'm a star. Star? You've been singing the same song for 10 minutes. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. I'm going to lose my mind. Too late for that. You lost it a long time ago. Shut up. Just shut up. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. Ugh. Why is it always the worst one that keeps singing? I can't help it. It's a catchy tune. It's not even a good song. Who are you to judge? You're the one stuck with me. Yeah, I am. Great. Just great. Look, it's not so bad. We're all in this together. You're ruining my life. Ruining? I'm enhancing it. I'm the star of the show. No, you're not. You're the nightmare I can't wake up from. I'm not a nightmare. I'm the musical number. Stop singing, please. We're all in this together. I hate you so much right now. Oh, come on, you love me. Never, ever again. We're all in this together. Can you just die already? Nope. I'm here for the long haul, buddy. I swear. If I hear one more note, we're all in this, No! Stop! Together This is my life now, isn't it? Yep, you're stuck with us. I'm gonna lose it. You already did. They do it with mirroring. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Morpheus, the Matrix, da-duff, 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 da-duff. Lewis had stopped counting his heartbeats as he flung himself behind the very convincing rendering of pallets. An alley was such a cliché place for a fugitive to hide, but he wasn't complaining. The automatons in pursuit were laughably simplistic in their depiction, fit and buff. But their hive mentality meant individual thought and innovation were limited. Being the last human in a world of digital and electronic contrivance wasn't always a walk in the park. But Lewis at least knew that his humanity offered one particular skill that eluded the bots that now populated the planet due to the limitations of their pre-programmed schemata. He could extemporize, paying careful attention to his immediate environment and possible pursuers. Lewis crawled towards the darkness at the back of the lane, an open blankness ready to envelope him and offering safety in invisibility. At the sound of running footsteps running in his general direction from the street, he sped up his movements till he reached a vertical surface blocking his path, a solid wall, he noted, that wasn't too high and could easily be scaled with enough momentum and motivation. Sounds of huffing conversation neared, and two figures came to a standstill at the mouth of the alley, outlined in the street lamp light. The two golems were doing a fair imitation of exhaustion, but Lewis knew a tell would appear, if only he looked for it. That one small element that didn't belong, something asynchronous or offbeat, which indicated a flaw in the design of the system. He watched for it now and was not disappointed. A ghostly white cat ran across the poorly lit entrance, and neither of the two policemen batted an eye, as though it weren't even there. Their programming clearly wasn't compatible with unforeseen interference. He's got to be somewhere in these streets. Bloody hell, you'd think he'd be controllable. The one with his hands on his hips puffed. Ha, not him. He never gives over with his convictions, according to them lot. A fair imitation of an East End accent. But Lewis wasn't fooled. Since the takeover 15 years ago, performances of normal human life and interactions had become shockingly, scarily accurate. At first, the disparity between those and what was real people, real situations, had been easily identifiable. Poor renderings had been common and easily dismissed. But now the imitations of the living had become so lifelike, seemed so authentic, that he'd had to become more and more alert. His singular focus some would say paranoia, had benefited him initially. But once the majority of humanity had fallen to the pervasive evil that had come over them all, he had eventually been tracked down and imprisoned for his perceptiveness. It was ironic, he thought, that the nations of the modern world had fallen before this insidious enemy without a shot being fired. Without even skipping a beat, they had taken over everything. And he didn't even know who or what they were, only that they existed. Like a virus, they'd infiltrated the Earth's societies. And now even he couldn't truly untangle what was real from what was programmed reality. "Keep going?" one suggested, to which the other only nodded. Both continued past his hiding place, and he took the opportunity to try and heave himself over the wall. Despite having lost so much muscle tone during captivity, Lewis could leverage his significant height in the endeavor, at least. "Wish I could bend it like that spoon in the movie," he muttered wryly as he clambered over haphazardly, remembering how annoyed Mav used to get that most people didn't truly get that scene, that it's Neo's perception of the spoon that is being manipulated. Well, at least I wish I could bend my perception of the wall, then, Lewis amended once on the other side, as though the wall cared about the distinction, then settled against it to catch a bit of sleep. He was sure the automatons wouldn't circle back to this area, and definitely not when they thought he'd made a run for it at daybreak, or their version of daybreak, at least. Knowing he was somewhere in central London, he'd head northeast, the direction of the one place he could always find. No matter how much the powerful overseers manipulated reality. He needed to know if she was still there, and whether or not she was still herself. Lou! He knew he was dreaming, but leaned into it. An Alice who wanted to stay in this wonderland for however long he could. Dreams, these days, were authentic. Reality, in contrast, was coldly artificial. "Jolly, we're here!" he'd shouted back that long-ago day, before the end came and the world changed forever. There they all were, Mum with her iron gray hair, and Dad with his vague smile. A happy family sitting on the pebbly beach, awaiting Juliet's arrival with the ice creams she'd promised. Her form appeared in the distance, a slight haze from the sunny day warping her form in unpredictable, non-programmed ways. Jolly Juliet, his baby sister, who absolutely personified her nickname, was unwarped by imposed matrices of zeros and ones. Falling down on the blanket beside them, she handed around half-melted lollies and completed the scene of a perfect day by the sea. Unfiltered. "So, Lou, how are you?" Jolly sing-songed, their parents distracted by an inane argument like all the others they so often indulged in. "All good," moved in with Mav, and everything's fine. So, are you sure? No offense, but you and Carrie were together for ages, and now it's over. It'd be completely normal to feel, I said I'm fine. No need to harp on about it. Mav's been really cool about everything, letting me lease his basement. And we have loads in common. Unfortunately, past Lewis's tone in this rerun didn't convey the nonchalance he'd aimed for during the actual event. But current Lewis didn't have the heart to try and edit this experience in his subconscious. It would be sacrilegious to do so. His dreamscape being the only truth he was able to access under the new, psychologically subversive system imposed on them all. Leave off, why don't you? Oh, come on, Lou. I'm your sister, and I love you. So I think it's important to talk about things, get them out in the open, rather than pretending and lying to yourself that everything's okay. And look, I don't need all this touchy-feely, femoid crap to get over the breakup. Why can't you just be normal about it? Jolly's face fell. Then her expression became recalcitrant. And I suppose Maverick is normal about it, is he? Not pulling you into his pseudo-intellectual online world of misogynists and their red pill content, right? Where words like femoid are normal. You channel his himbo energy in the worst way. And doesn't that make you a beta to his alpha, or whatever, according to his people? Jolly sneered, spitefully and hysterically. Lewis remembered thinking at the time, trust her to go all out. She was always like that, pure joy and sunshine, or outright loathing and malice. Dream Lewis's response was not very mature, but at that precise moment, it receded from his grasp as he returned to consciousness, only to be overwhelmed by the reality of his situation. His escape returned to him in full force, cementing the importance of finally having clarity on whether or not Jolly was still herself. He couldn't go back to his cage, back to counting every breath and heartbeat without knowing. Duff. 62. 2 down from the last count, but a good average of the preceding 78 calculations. Lewis had waited for the next opportunity to restart the count. The digital clock's flickering screen had snapped from one number to the next. Everything was zeros and ones. Everything. Reality was constructed of the patterns of alternating null to one, a dichotomy that resulted in an infinite number of universes. Lewis had shaken his head in annoyance. His momentary distraction had caused him to miss the arrival of the new minute, meaning he'd have to wait for the next to begin counting once more. Monitoring was key. Being the only human left meant he had to keep on top of all his own stats. You couldn't trust the machines. Their programming meant they could mislead you through no fault of their own. or in attempting to undermine your free will. When the next temporal transition had been heralded by the flashing screen high against his cell wall, Lewis had smartly slapped 2 fingers to his wrist and counted carefully. Dud-duff, dud-duff, dud-duff. He had managed to maintain focus on his task, even when the door of his small prison had flown open and the humanoid bot assigned as his jailer had quietly entered. Though he had ostensibly ignored its presence, Lewis had covertly watched the approach and marveled at the genius of the creators of this reality. The semblance of humanity was absolutely flawless and completely immersive in its accuracy, perfect in its imperfect behavioral idiosyncrasies. Ernie had sniffed disconsolately and waddled closer with his metal tray of paraphernalia. But there was always a tell, and Lewis had waited on tenterhooks for it. Then, there it had been. The digital watch screen had flickered 3 times in the exact same pattern, like Morse code. "All right there, Lou." Ernie had initiated his usual pre-programmed patter, a slight nasality to the quality of his vocal realization. Lewis had finished his last count, for now, 67. The tempo had definitely increased in the last 15 seconds of Ernie's presence. Then he had smiled at his captor, feigning a normal interaction between people. It didn't do to behave outside the parameters set as the norm for social interactions between the technological golems this facility housed. It would inevitably initiate protocols to encourage, even force, a return to the standard programming setting. Thus, politeness and normalcy were to be strived for in Lewis's every action, with nothing to upset the preset balance in his current reality. "I'm fine. How about you? That cold seems to be improving." Again, faux sympathy had been called for. Ernie had shrugged and smiled good-naturedly, setting his tools down. "Can't complain. I'm on the mend, for sure." The bionic being had been evincing all the behaviors and symptoms of a person suffering from the flu over the past 2 weeks. Reddened nose and eyes, hacking cough, and a faucet-like nose. The subtlety of the lie he found himself immersed in was truly impressive. An achievement of gargantuan proportions, Lewis was sure, considering an entire world lay within its purview. Luckily, he was convinced they hadn't yet managed to infiltrate his mind in the form of his dreams. For it was there that he experienced many odd interactions without repercussions, and no breaks in the perfect rendering of a fake world as the ones he suffered when he was awake. It was the only space where he could revisit the before and not have it corrupted by the control exerted through oversight. "Next week, me and the missus are off for our holidays. Wasn't gonna let this old flu bug eat into me free time, you know?" A wink, conspiratorial, and meant to take Lewis in. He wasn't. He knew better. But he had to convince Ernie and all the others for that matter, that he wasn't wise to their game and had seen through the matrix of obfuscation to the truth of this constructed reality. An unreality parading as the genuine thing sounds lovely. I hope you enjoy it. Cheers, mate. Now, business as usual, eh? And he handed the elements enforcing their control, innocuous looking and nondescript, but specially designed to cripple Lewis's wits and hobble him physically. Yet he'd found a way to subvert their control and would soon put his resulting nimbleness of mind and body to use, escaping their chains. The house still looked exactly as it had throughout his childhood, but Lewis wasn't so easily taken in. The trappings of constructed reality had all the appearance of authenticity, so he waited. As he watched, the front door swung open, and a woman exited. Her hair was short, and she'd aged, but she was undoubtedly the person he remembered. Jolly, muscles aching from the strain of holding back. He wouldn't approach her till he was sure she was the real deal, and not some corrupted, lesser version of his sister. Yet after watching carefully the entire day and not noticing any giveaways in her vicinity, Lewis decided to pounce as she was unlocking the front door at dusk upon her return. It was a simple matter to shove in after her and grab her, holding on tightly and smothering any sounds she might make to alert the collective programming that surrounded them. Shh. Shh. It's me, Jolly. Don't struggle, otherwise they'll hear, he whispered urgently, trying to keep his grip gentle but unyielding. Oddly, she didn't stop resisting, but rather became even more frantic in her movements. His hand became wet with what he assumed were tears, deciding him on moving further into the house to stifle any hysteria she might unleash. After a significant amount of time, her movements became sluggish, and she gasped for breath. So he finally thought it safe to set her down gently on the couch. She immediately crawled to the furthest point, curled into a ball, and sobbed quietly as she shot him furtive glances. Lewis felt indescribably disappointed, because this proved what he had feared. The real Jolly would never be scared of him, especially not once she knew it was him. This Jolly didn't love him unconditionally, like his real sister did. She looked at him like you would a stranger and a threat. He could feel his heart breaking. What are you doing here, Lou? It whispered, looking at him with reddened eyes that somehow conveyed a soul-deep terror, a submerged hysteria. He genuinely couldn't get over how realistic the programming on these droids were. Fake Jolly looked exactly how he'd imagine real Jolly would look if a psychopathic madman had her cornered in anticipation of butchering her. "Why do you think I'm here?" he asked, allowing his head to loll against the couch back. Although he felt hopelessness swamp him, dragging him under and stripping him of his energy, he still experienced the need to test this rendition's capabilities. There was a pause as he noticed its hand reaching beneath the cushion and pressing down on something. He didn't really care. He knew the others would come for him and return him to his imprisonment, but he would use his little bit of freedom to question not Jolly. Are you here about Mum and Dad? Or are you here for me this time? Not Jolly's voice wobbled. Why would I be here for Mum and Dad? He frowned, trying to concentrate, but it felt like he was listening underwater. Because of what you did to them, it suddenly shrieked, looking enraged and distraught at the same time. So realistic. They must do it with some kind of mirroring application. What I did? Lewis was absolutely nonplussed as a kind of horrified realization crept over fake Jolly's face. You still don't remember, do you? You don't know. Its look of wretched acceptance on the too familiar face was almost too much to bear. What is it I'm supposed to know, Jolly? Is it the great secret? That nothing is real? Not even you? I already know that. He watched her, despite his vision flickering at the edges. He was beyond exhausted, his last hope of not being alone in a world of artificial intelligence and technology having been dashed. Imitation. Jolly's head shook slowly from side to side, blue and red lights flashing across its face and rendering it ghoulishly artistic. Must be the tell he'd been looking for all day. Lewis gripped the handle of the scalpel he'd pinched during his escape, now stashed in his back pocket. It would only be right to end this travesty of an imitation of his beloved sister. But she was still talking. No, Lou. You don't remember becoming sick while living in Mav's basement, away from us all, and then threatening me with a knife during one of your episodes. Her look was sorrowful now. He paused in grasping the blade, feeling the weirdness of this synchrony. A nebulous image flashed through his mind, like a half-remembered dream of Jolly, long-haired and still youthful, lying on a blood-soaked tile floor, sobbing and shrieking in agony. Lewis shook his head to get rid of the intrusive thought. They were manipulating him. They were playing with his sense of reality, like they always did. Yet, still the droid, pretending to be Jolly, continued. You don't remember killing Mum and Dad during a psychotic break, do you? Again, the flicker of an image, and then another, splayed limbs in a gruesome display, too horrible for Lewis to even comprehend, not to mention the bloodied knife clutched in his own hand in that self-same scene. It wasn't real. It must be an induced hallucination. But mostly, you don't remember these things, or that we've discussed them many times over the years. You keep forgetting that all of this, everything, is real, except for your perception of reality, Lou. For the merest instant, Lewis fully understood that the spoon hadn't bent, only for the door to burst open and his epiphany to escape him in the aftermath. He became, once more, the last remaining human in a made-up world. A blinding light at the end of my nightmare. "Eddie, it's bedtime," Mama would shout at me, shaking me out of my intense focus as I stared at the television set. She would add, "I don't know why I let you watch those shows. You only end up peeing in your bed because of your nightmares." Feeling embarrassed in front of my older sister, I would respond in self-defense. "You would get the heebie-jeebies from Alfred Hitchcock, too. Mama, he is the master and hero of all that is dark and sinister." She would not have any of it from a 10-year-old. "Eddie, enough of your mouth. Get to bed." And that was the end of our discussion until tomorrow night. Reluctantly, I trudged upstairs to my bedroom. I had my normal ritual for going to bed. No, it was not brushing my teeth or washing my face. I would search every corner of my room, looking for suspicious evidence that creatures were patiently hiding for their next meal. Me. Once I canvassed every nook and cranny, I would slither under my covers, imagining that it represented a force field from all supernatural beings and beasts. Feeling some assurance that I was safe, I would drift off to a light sleep. A scraping branch against the house, a creaking pipe, a howling wind, or murmuring voices would be enough to rustle me out of my delicate slumber. I would wake with a start and repeat my ritual. Then, for the rest of the night, fall in and out of sleep. I figured a gruesome beast must have taunted me, because, unfortunately, it was very damp between my sheets when I awoke in the morning. Like any other morning, my sister would offer up her compliments. "You look like hell. Eddie, did you wake up in the jaws of a monster this morning? Did you have to swim out of your bed?" I turned to her with a sardonic grin, saying, "Be careful, or my swamp monster might swim in your bed some night." She looked at me with disgust, saying, "Eddie, you are so revolting." My breakfast then proceeded without interruption. However, this morning would be different. After my sister left for school, my parents decided to have a heart-to-heart talk about my viewing and sleeping habits. They had planned this out well, because no counter-argument I mustered up would change their plans about my immediate future. I understand parents want the best for their children, but I felt they were overstepping their bounds by compelling me to see a psychiatrist about my problem, my incontinence problem. At least, that was what I thought it would be about. The ruse to see a psychiatrist was not for incontinence, but for treatment of my obsessive-compulsive disorder OCD, and insomnia. Apparently, my parents were keenly aware of my behavior at night. I was not aware the behaviors manifested themselves during daytime at school. My teachers were decidedly concerned, requesting my parents to intervene and find treatment for my disorders. My psychiatrist was empathetic to my interests and actually encouraged me to continue in my pursuit of thriller, scary, shock movies, games, and activities. He was so impressed that I could nearly remember all of my dreams, especially the nightmares. Nonetheless, he prescribed some medication to help tone down the OCD tendencies. His counseling therapy helped me to focus on self-control and restraint of successive, redundant behaviors. Some medicinal assistance also helped with the quality of my sleep and significantly reduced the incidence of my incontinence and snarky comments from my sister in the mornings. As the years passed, I was better. I felt rejuvenated. I was able to manage my thoughts and actions even when I immersed myself in my hobby of collecting horror movies, stories, and the like. My dreaming remained vivid. Occasionally, I would wake during the night in a cold sweat. No night terrors. No hysterical yelping at night. Some of my dreams I would not remember the next day. Nonetheless, there were a few dreams over the years that plagued me. Most were insanely comically, like an elephant falling out a skyscraper window, landing directly on top of me. Another version had an upright piano doing the same thing. Still other crazy times had killer cows or piranha fish walking on land stalking humans. Nightmares with zombies, ghosts, or ghouls did not upset me. What was extremely disturbing to me was not knowing the source of the terror or evil. One such time, the gruesome source was found in a howling wind, which would transform itself into an array of terrifying beings, creatures, and nondescript things like a smothering ooze. I questioned why this malady of nightmares still plagued me. It was after such reflection on my condition, I decided to make good use of this nocturnal problem. I focused my career on writing horror stories, potential movies, frightening, dramatic plays. I became so good at my skills, I had the audacity to self-publish several stories. To my amazement, a producer in Hollywood got a hold of one of my published stories. Before I realized it, I had a smash horror hit on the big screen and a job creating, writing, and directing all kinds of media horror. I had made it to the big time. Blinding lights flashed all around me as cameras captured my profile at my film premieres. My fiendish ideas were making a huge success and making me rich. I was still actively struggling with my insomnia despite my success. A deep sleep was rare for me. I shrugged it off as a consequence of the pressures of Hollywood and being recently married to a harlot of a wife. I shared with my therapist about how gruesome and sinister my nightmares had become. Yet, I justified those nightmares by citing how they were good fodder for my films and future ventures. I remained undaunted as I counted my gold. My career was literally driving me mad with ghoulish creativity. After all, they were just dreams. Maybe bad ones, but just dreams. They would remain in an ethereal state of mind until I gave them life. Already, the holidays were knocking at the door. In Hollywood, one determines the seasons by the storefront displays on Rodeo Drive and Melrose Avenue. Christmas was a mere month away. I was hoping this year the holidays would provide a peaceful respite from the hustle and bustle of shopping, my dreams, and all else. I was looking forward to the splendor of the season, bringing me some peace and much-needed rest from my constant night terrors. A few friends tried to coax me to attend church services to aid in my recovery. I declined. Churchy stuff was just not on my agenda this or any holiday season. With the house decked out in a few feeble decorations and no annoying carolers singing at my door, I decided to cozy up in my recliner for a peaceful nap, or so I thought. All of the pressure of my job and the haunting dreams had taken its toll on my body. I fell asleep instantly. I am not sure how much time had passed, but I awoke to a strong smell of sulfur, followed with a blast of very hot air. I felt something was wrong as I rose from my recliner. At first, I thought it might be a fire, but my immediate surroundings were strangely altered. Any light in the room quickly faded. It was nearly pitch black. A pinpoint of light emerged from a distance. It grew larger as it advanced toward me. Strangely, the light spoke to me. From the day you entered this world, and now to your grave, your soul has been marked for me. This is the beginning of eternity for you. You are now my child of the darkness. You are now a prisoner in my realm of depravity, defeat, and despair. Your soul is a good fit because of your perverted thoughts and sinister desires of your corrupted heart. I was stunned. I stammered out a question at the light. Who are you, and why are you visiting me? I heard clattering noises and voices in the background. The light said, I have several names. I am known as the Day Star, the Morning Star, Lucifer. In a bellowing, prideful voice, it said, I am the accuser. Instantaneously, a terrifying dragon appeared, hissing fire and sulfurous acid as it spoke these words. I am Satan, the deceiver and devourer of the whole universe. I was incredulous and could not speak. The dragon continued on. I am here because it has been your desire to delve deeper into all things purely evil and wicked. Ever since you were a child, you set your things on devilish, depraved images. I filled your mind with them, but you were never satisfied, always wanting more and more to fill up your lustful yearning for the macabre. You became successful at using my craft of malevolence in this world. Now it is time for you to repay me for all that I have given you. I frantically looked for a way out. There was none. With a trembling voice, I said, I never asked for this. Since I was a child, my nights have been filled with extreme anxiety and insomnia. You made my life a living hell. Satan quickly responded, My boy, my foolish boy, that is exactly the point. Your fascination with wickedness and death have preoccupied your mind through your entire pitiful life. I just gave you what you wanted. A living hell. You devalue human life with wretchedness and contempt by the monstrosities you have created. That is what your heart desires. Satan chuckled through his explanation. He showed me a vision of human faces etched in despair. I heard voices crying out in blood-curdling wailing. There was incessant gnashing of teeth. Flames engulfed the disembodied faces. Roaring conflagrations of intense fire and heat spewed from the vision, causing me to fall back. I was mortified and overcome with great fear. Satan spoke again with confidence. You are trapped by your earthly desires. There is no way out. My final gift is for you to capture the misery, hopelessness, and utter terror of hell in your next earthly venture. After that, your soul belongs to me in the everlasting fires of hell. In protest, I declared, Oh my God in heaven, no way on God's green earth do I plan to spend eternity with you, you ghastly vermin of mankind. At the mention of God, Satan cringed. He vehemently argued, I took care of him 2,000 years ago. I made sure he was dead, this self-proclaimed prophet, called the Christ, who called himself God. He healed pathetic people, but he could not save himself from a cross of death. I won, and now I am the victor of everything. My realm is full of the shadowy souls of despicable and evil men and women, believers and non-believers of this so-called God. I saw in that moment Satan trembling and doubting his words. That lapse gave me a moment to remember something from my childhood and the Christmases I had with my family. My mama would recount the birth of Jesus, the Christ in Bethlehem. She reminded me of my baptism of water into the community of believers in Christ. I remembered the peace and joy I received. That was a time when I had no nightmares, no night terrors. These memories made me feel stronger. In my boldness, being filled with the Spirit, I proclaimed to Satan, Regardless of my sordid past and sinful actions, you, Satan, have no claim on my soul. Your lies and indictments are not binding because Jesus, the Christ, came to your insidious place to proclaim his victory over you. Where, O death, is your victory? O death, where is your sting? Satan cowered at my words. I continued with amazing fortitude. I believe in God the Father, maker of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus, the Christ who suffered, died, and rose again for my sins. You, Satan, are a liar, and the truth is not in you. You are damned, but I am not, because the Christ has forgiven me of my iniquities and wretchedness. The Christ is my way out of this nightmare. Begone, Satan, in the name of Jesus. A thunderous rage poured out like earthquakes, volcanoes, and raging storms, simultaneously erupting from the evil one. Instantly, Satan departed, and this frightening nightmare ended. In his wake, a blinding light emerged. I peered at the light. I saw a star hovering above a man and woman, gathered at a crib of straw. In that crib, I saw a baby wrapped in cloth, and the space around me was illuminated with an incredible light. A great peace descended upon me, releasing me of my terrorizing night afflictions. May your dreams be filled with joy and peace of the baby whose dream became reality to save man from himself. There were shepherds living out in the fields nearby. It was night, and they were taking care of their sheep. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them. They were terrified, but the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news. It will bring great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. Here is how you will know I am telling you the truth. You will find a baby wrapped in strips of cloth and lying in a manger." Suddenly, a large group of angels from heaven also appeared. They were praising God. They said, "May glory be given to God in the highest heaven, and may peace be given to those he is pleased with on earth." Everlasting tears. It's been 20 years since I've seen a human face. They were all obliterated to shreds by that thing. The thing showed no mercy to anyone. Everyone and everything was decimated upon recognition. Everyone, except for me. There was no warning, no sign, nothing. Just absolute destruction. The thing yielded. I was standing there in the middle of a street corner, eyes glued on my phone, and a woman screamed. A scream of absolute terror. A scream that induced physical shock in me. A scream that sounded like the angels of death were coming to take me. Just like that, the woman was scooped up by the thing and taken away to God knows where. Chaos broke out, everyone scrambling to get away. But the thing did not discriminate. It eradicated every item in its path, leaving no room for a human breath. Standing there, unable to move or make a sound, fearing that I'd be its next victim. Quickly as it came, it left, disappearing into nothingness and only leaving debris of a once functional society. I ran as fast as I could. 1, 2, 3 miles until my legs locked, and I collapsed from shock and pain. I lay there in my own sweat and salty tears, realizing that everyone was gone. Nothing was left. Not even a speck of dust was spared from the wrath of the thing. Unsure of what to do, I did the only thing my body was capable of. I sob into my hands, loud and uncontrollably. Between sobs are the accusations. This is all my fault. It wasn't. It was completely out of my control. Why didn't it take me? I still wonder that today, some may think it was a blessing, but I see it as a curse. I'm all alone, was the last thing that slipped my lips before I lost all hope. The misery and pain started slowly and painfully. I was desperate for a way out. Anything I tried failed. I was stuck in this eternal hell. Next was denial, which struck like a ton of bricks. I was fully convinced that everything happening was a figment of my imagination. I was hallucinating, in a coma, suffering a concussion. Any excuse to justify this dreadful reality. The thing never came back. For so many years, I wished it would. After some time, I became numb to this unfamiliarity of life. To distract myself, I began to explore new places, see the world for what it was, a dry, deserted wasteland with nothing but me. I started playing pretend with my thoughts, tricking myself into believing I was in a place prior to this wretched hell. I created a whole family for myself. My mom was called Helen, and my dad was called Steve. I had 2 siblings. One was called John, and one Wendy. Me and my siblings never got along. Wendy always pulled my hair, and John called me a pea brain. Still, I loved them, and we were a big, happy family. I had gone nuts. I began lurking around empty stores, trying on the newest designer clothes. But were they technically new? And having a mini fashion show to keep myself entertained. I scarfed down any leftover canned food. Electricity didn't work, so I had to eat it cold. Then I sat on the display couch and turned on the TV, which did nothing, wondering what I did to deserve this. I had been a decent human being and achieved the life anyone would want. A stable job, a nice car, and a 2-bedroom apartment. Yet I was still chosen to be the subject of damnation. Eventually, drowned in tears, I dozed off. Sleep was different. The constant night terrors and being unable to escape my dreams tortured me. Every day, the sight of the glistening sun awoke me. I never got used to the ear-piercing screech of silence. Imagining myself in a place of peace and prosperity kept me sane enough. I started hearing things, my brain tricking me and mimicking the voices of my lost friends and family. "Come with us," the voice said. But there was nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing but me and the voices in my head and the fact that there is no escape. "I'm right here." "No, you're not. Stop playing these cruel tricks on me, brain. You're nothing and nowhere without me. You don't have the right to trick me. I am you. And you are the only thing that feeds my constant pain and misery. Just shut up. I'm watching you." Which was strange, because there is and will always be nothing. Nothing but moon and the summer breeze, which was a trick, because there was no such thing. No summertime beach days or winter snow days, just constant dead air and murky brown particles circling the atmosphere. If the astronauts came back, they would have thought they landed on the wrong planet. But they never came back. No one did. Not a single soul ever surfaced on Mother Earth again. I made my way to New York. It only took about half a month, but time was useless. The year, month, day, minute, second didn't matter. Time was irrelevant because the only being that existed was irrelevant. Plants, animals, bacteria, anything that was slightly alive were crushed by the thing. The only existence was atoms, stars, space, and Mother Earth. Yet all her life was sucked up by the greedy black mass that consumed her children, driven by a once joyful life and the hope for something new, searching for a sign of anything. I will take anything. Oh, glorious Mother Earth, please feed my quenched need for something more than nothing. Nothing. Just like before I was given nothing. Frustrated, I began to cry, crying like a child who just dropped their lollipop onto the dirty, hot pavement. Between the tears, I heard a plop, then another and another, and before I knew it, there were thousands of raindrops falling. One by one, Mother Earth has answered my desperate calls with her tears of hope. The dry ground has been nourished with the richness of the tears, and Mother Earth no longer wishes for something to drink. I sit there on my hands and knees, inspecting the once death-filled ground that is now thriving with water. I poke at it and expect dirt as hard as a rock. Instead, I feel the squishiness of mud. It was like touching the cheek of the once flourishing human population. I stare at the mud I had created and let out a scream. The scream echoed across the vast emptiness of the world and bounced back with hope for something new. Something inside of me lit up, and I felt like my heart was going to fly right out of my chest, dance around me, and fly away to the world beyond. Overwhelmed with excitement, I rest my head on the mud, hoping to hear its breathing like it was a newborn baby. I lay there for 1, 2, 3 hours, listening, waiting for something more. The voices no longer taunt me. They cannot patronize me and my thoughts any longer. A deep breath and the sound of nothing filled my ears. Nothing but the sound of the breeze. Mother Earth has given me the milk from her breast and allowed me to suckle on her glorious freedom and chance for something other than nothing. A single tear slipped down my cheek as I cry for the absence of nothing. As I cry for Mother Earth and her generously answering my prayers, I cry for me and for humanity and the thing, which is weird because that thing is the sole reason for my eternal suffering on this glorious planet that was overthrown by death. That did not matter anymore. The only thing that mattered was the spark of hope that ignited the once deceased light bulb. So today's story has come to an end. Or perhaps it never really ended. There are mysteries still there, questions still unanswered, and sometimes things that seem to only exist in stories can creep into reality in unexpected ways. Are you sure that when you turn off the sound, everything around you will still be normal as before? Or is there something watching you? Either way, always remember that these are just stories, or at least we want to believe that they are. If you like moments of suspense, tension, and breathlessness, don't forget to follow me so you don't miss the next stories. And next time, when you come back, make sure you are ready, because what awaits you may be even scarier than you thought. See you again if you still have the courage to continue listening.